morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday to everyone out there. This is Clint Paris. You're live on InTouch News Radio, reality radio where everybody can be a star. And I want to welcome you to Straight Up the Middle. We've had a very exciting week dominated by various rulings from the Supreme Court. Some of y'all may have noticed you had a little downtick in gas prices a little bit. And we've got Pete Edwards, Sweet Pete, calling in online. We've not been able to get him in studio the last couple of weeks. Good morning, Pete. Are you there?
All right, my man. I told you.
Stop it, Nostradamus. Hold on. Man, welcome back, Pete. Welcome back, man. It's good to have you on the phone. We appreciate you calling in and working with us, and appreciate DJ Bezel behind the ones and twos, whatever it is he's got back there. Working our engineer, just trying to make everything happen. So, Pete, we missed you for the last couple of weeks.
Well, I want the brothers to really, I tell all the brothers, young and old, you gotta watch it when you play sports, whether it's intramural or whatever, and you continue to play where you know you should stop.
Yeah.
And along with the other injuries, you gotta watch those legs and knees and hips.
Yeah. Does that apply, Pete, when it's time to lead a club? You know, some people don't want to lead a club. They just had a DJ turn the music up.
The now the clubs you leave at 8 o'clock. But I tell you what, Clint, as far as really men health problems, I'm running into so many young black men that won't even get checkups in their 30s. They don't want to deal with prostate. They don't want to deal with colon. They don't want to deal with back injuries or anything like that. And I can tell you that if you keep ignoring it and all like that, it's only going to get worse because the scar tissue builds up and stuff. So what I've done is I couldn't paint my cane different colors. I just had a straight black cane and just dance the night away. But seriously though, I urge the brothers and I urge the women, if you got a boyfriend or a husband or a partner, encourage them to get checked out.
Yes.
Bone injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah, we are fastly. We are fastly increasing our health literacy. I know that InTouch News puts out a lot of statements that are very beneficial regarding men's health, and a part of it is what you just did, Pete. Men encouraging other men to take care of themselves. All right, Pete, you've been itching to talk about the Supreme Court. Poor thing. I know you've been just bubbling over there. Okay, go ahead. Take your lap, Pete. Hurry up. Let's go. About the Supreme Court.
No, it's not a lap. It's a trend. If you remember, we discussed it earlier this year and everything, and last year to an extent. I said that this Supreme Court is very radical. You got a United Klansman leader on there. That's Sam Alito, and then you got his right-wing henchman, we could call him Clarence Thomas or
Uncle Clarence. Uncle Clarence.
Uncle Clarence, right. But I said to you, this is the beginning. If you look at the opinion written by Clarence Thomas, he's given a signal that he's going to be against contraceptives. He's going to be against same-sex marriages. I told you that the Voters' Rights Act, when they come back next year, that's going to be even diluted further. The only thing he's not going to be against for the Constitution is interracial marriage, and that's because he married a white woman. But if it wasn't for that, he would want to strike that down, too. I'm just keeping it real. And here's the present thing, and I'm going to turn it back to you. Young people under 40, people who have received child care credits and all of that, now that they got their monies, they have not paid attention to the scene whatsoever. And when you talk to them about the upcoming mid-year elections, you know what the first question they ask? Are they going to give us some more money? So we're, in our community and other communities of color, in particular poor Hispanic communities, it's that mentality that is fastly sending us back to the pre-civil rights stage.
Yeah, all right. So let's walk through. Let's slow it down a little bit, Pete. You just gave everybody a full semester dissertation, and we want.
For a while.
You've been here in spirit, but so let me walk through. So first of all, we got two rulings this week of very significant rulings by the Supreme Court. The first ruling regarding uh, um, New York City's laws regarding concealed carry permits and how far they could go as it relates to that. And then the second ruling was regarding Roe versus Wade. Let's start with the gun ruling up in New York. Now, what New York basically said is, listen, if you want to carry a gun, you have to demonstrate a reasonable safety need that's realistic. Basically, I've been threatened. I've got an ex-boyfriend stalking me. Somebody's told me they're going to get me, but you have to provide that information to get the concealed carry permit. That's in addition to the regular license to own a gun permit. So if I want to carry a gun in New York, I have to demonstrate that I actually have a realistic belief that I am in danger. It's unsafe. And the gentleman that brought one of the cases, he lived in a dangerous neighborhood. One of the gentlemen, and I assume that was a setup. Most Supreme Court cases, they are not organic. They don't just happen. They're usually set up to have the Supreme Court try to change law. Yeah. So now, the Supreme Court came out and said, well, that's the Second Amendment, as they interpret the right to bear arms, to be a constitutional right, that I'm entitled to this. And so the government, before it can impinge on my personal right to own a gun by making me go through these hoops, it has to demonstrate a certain nexus or need and things of that nature. What were your thoughts when you heard that New York gun law come out, Pete, and how it might impact the gun debate?
Well, I knew they were going to reverse it. Remember, that law has been on the books like over 40 years or something. And some of the critics saying that, hey, you had this law on the books, and the crime was still there. I remember when I was a young parole officer in the state of Florida, we couldn't even transfer a guy on probation to New York if they had been convicted, even if adjudication was held on a gun charge. I mean, it's just but what we see, what our community is going to have to do, we need to push all those who are eligible to get a carry and concealed firearm permit. We need to do that. Now, I'm telling you what's going to happen in Florida is like in Texas. You're going to get next year, after this year's election, you're going to get a bill passed that talks about open carry. The problem I have in the black community is all of us who are legitimately eligible to have a gun, we don't go down and apply. You feel me?
No, I'm just saying, but why would we if that's not what I want to do?
Well, the way things are going, we can laugh it off or whatever, but this is the beginning quarter of a new race war, and we got to stop acting like it's not here. It is here.
Okay, back. Hold on, Pete. How do you connect this gun law with race? Do that for me.
Well, I'm gonna tell you how we connect it. The extreme right understands that the way the gun laws are now throughout the country, and even in removing the restriction in New York, it will give them more power to apply or whatever to do with carrying a gun on their hip and all. They have betted that the criminals that they see in the black community are just going to be doing what they're doing with concealed firearms, robbing people and all. And they have considered that the black community is so docile and want to be so peaceful all the time that we're not even interested in legitimately getting firearms and all to protect our families and community.
But hold on, wait, hold on, Pete. But yeah, I know that, but you go so far, so fast, and you leave. Pete, you knock on most black people's door, there's a gun in arm's reach. It's not like we don't have guns. Now, we may not have a gun closet, a gun cabinet, a gun collection, and they may not be registered, and we may not go down to the range and shoot them. But we got guns. And how I know we got guns? All the shootings in black communities across the country. So I don't know that the issue is whether or not the permit carry thing impacts. Now, here's how I think that impact would be different. If we encourage young black men with hoodies and dreads and sagging pants to go get a open carry permit and strap a gun on their waist and go walking in McDonald's all over the city, I think that might change people's opinion. They may be a little bit more concerned. So they think everybody with a gun.
We should do that.
Right, because what they think is the guy.
We should.
Well, right. So, because what I think they're expecting is a bunch of responsible middle-aged white people who have, military and law enforcement and gun shooting training to be the ones carrying the guns. But if everybody looked up and it looked like everybody's walking around with the AK-47 strapped in their back, to go down to the dry cleaners, it might change people's perspective. But I'm still not getting the racial component. You mentioned that this gun thing is connected to race, and if it's so that white people can openly carry guns and intimidate black people in exercising their rights, I'm not sure I get the racial connection to the gun law in New York.
It is there. It is there. It's been there all over the country. And you saw a small example of it during the January 6th insurrection. Why do you think the Blue Lives Matter movement has been so quiet on the insurrection when they beat up all those policemen?
Well, they try not to go to jail, Pete. I mean, this net keeps expanding. I mean, I wouldn't put my nose we used to get into stuff when I was in college on campus. We had a fight on Friday night. Brothers laid low for a couple of days in case administrators were looking for them. You didn't go sit on the quad that day. You laid low for a little bit. Let things settle down. So, but that gun control law, I think that if black people, you're right, if it becomes clear that we are now asserting our rights and going out to get register guns, buy guns, openly carry guns, it might get people a little more concerned about how they carry. Did you think the Supreme Court made the right ruling based off the Constitution, though, Pete?
No, but the Constitution in the last few years, the Constitution has meant nothing. When they refused to Obama's choice for the Supreme Court,
right,
that was the death knell for a reasonably fair U.S. Supreme Court. I mean, we know that we've had some racists on there or racist sympathizers because Clarence Thomas is a racist.
But when you say stuff like that, I worry about your commitment to the American destruction. That concept that the selection process of a Supreme Court justice is because the Constitution, it gives the president advice, and and then the Senate consents, advice and consent. And I thought he advised, and they did not consent. That's the system.
Well, look at an example of Amy Barrett. Now they know they put her on that overturned rope. When you look at a lot of her stuff she had going, she's an extremist judge. She looks different on the surface, but she's an extremist judge. Now, here's my point of view from a black militant.
And make it quick. We only got 20 seconds, Pete.
Okay, here's my point of view. She adopted a black child, but it wasn't an American black child. I'll leave it at that. Let's go to break.
The little bit of
I'm back, brother. I'm back.
Pete, listen, y'all. I am so excited to have Pete back. All right, we're going to take this quick break. We'll come back. We're going to get to the next big thing out of the Supreme Court. Roe versus Wade. All right, y'all hang in there. In-Text News Radio. Reality radio, everybody can be a star. Turn on the YouTube and check out my fancy red jacket I got on this morning. We'll be right back, y'all.
Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer? I got the man to do so believe we hunted. Dial 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay, call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida, grab a pen or something. Dial 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky. It's a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and getting you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
Hello, Tampa Bay. This is Ainsley Doe with Florida Realty Unlimited. As a broker with 15 years experience and a veteran of the Navy, I do understand your needs. Real estate prices are up. So if you're thinking of selling your home, call me for a free market analysis. If you're planning to buy a home, please call me for a free buyer's consultation. For more information, call Ainsley Doe at 813-546-1954. Once again, the number is 813-546-1954. Or check my ad out in the In Touch You.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Owning something. When you own something, you do what you want to do. So guess what, y'all? DJ CEO decided he's coming in. He's going to sit in and help me and Pete do our show because he owns the joint, and we appreciate his perspective.
Did he bring the donuts?
Yeah, he did not bring any donuts.
No, I didn't bring any donuts.
I didn't bring any donuts. So DJ CEO, he heard us talking about the Supreme Court ruling on gun control. I mean, in New York City, about the extra hurdle for getting a concealed permit is what that ruling was about. It was about, in New York, you have to demonstrate, I need a concealed permit to carry a gun because I have a realistic fear for my safety. So if you had to demonstrate that in getting the permit, the concealed permit, not the ownership permit. I can own a gun, keep it at my house, own a gun, have it in my trunk when I'm driving someplace, unload it, that kind of stuff, go to the range. But if I want to actually put it on my person and go out in public, then I have to have a special concealed permit, and that permit required that. This is just in New York City.
And it's been like that for 100 years.
It's been like that for a long time, but the Supreme Court finally came and said, listen, I don't know in the Constitution where the government gets to restrict your right to bear arms this much by having you demonstrate the fear, because there's nothing about fear and safety in that Second Amendment or the whole militia language, all that kind of stuff.
And I think you asked, what does it mean as a whole?
Correct. What is it going to, does it impact, meaning, are we going to this proliferation? Hold on for a minute, Pete. Let's get DJ CEO get his 2 cents.
Well, so I'm a gun owner. I have my concealed weapons license, and I think that we need to have strong laws when it comes to gun ownership. And even like in Texas, anybody can have a gun now.
Well, why do you say we need? I don't know. What's a strong law?
Well, a strong law is a law that says that requires you to carry a concealed weapon. You have to go through. You have to get training. You have to pay a certain fee. You have to get your license. It's kind of like a driver's license.
Now, where is that in the Constitution?
It's not in the Constitution.
So that's your problem.
So you sound like the Supreme Court now.
No, I'm just
abortion is not in the.
And that's the problem.
Okay.
See, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Okay, so
once you start coming out of the Constitution and just making laws, you now become like, help me out, Pete. It was the Pharisees or whoever was back in Judea. When Moses gave them 10 laws. And God gave us 10.
Okay, and he fell and broke the commandments.
But he got 10. And they said, well, we got 3,000 more. We're going to add to this.
Okay.
That had nothing to do with the 10.
So on one hand, and we're going to go straight to Roe. On one hand, you got the Supreme Court giving rights. And then on the other hand, with Roe, you got the Supreme Court taking rights, and none of those are.
And I feel like
in the Supreme Court.
I feel like this
in
bus
the
just
Constitution.
went off. We feel like this bus went off the road. So let's talk about that. So
Okay.
you said gave and took. So in
based on the Constitution,
right?
Okay.
So the first one is the Supreme Court should never be giving or taking anything.
But they have.
They just interpret. They don't give or take. You have,
Okay.
you don't. So let's talk about the gun thing. Basically, they said, listen, nothing in the Constitution about me having to prove that I'm in fear to carry a gun. And then people say, well, nothing in there about being 18, being trained, and all the other stuff. Let's switch over to Roe just a little bit.
Okay.
There's nothing in the Constitution about abortion. So basically what the Supreme Court came in and said is, hey, we shouldn't be in the business of telling people anything about abortion. We're going to take our hands out. That's all they did, is get the Supreme Court out of abortions, because it shouldn't be in there, because there's nothing really in the Constitution.
Out of abortion, but into guns.
No, they not into guns. But remember, guns are specifically the right to a well-regulated and militia, right? And they interpret that to mean
Article 2.
And the word militia,
Amendment 2, rather.
the militia was interpreted to be the people. That's how they get to have the right.
Okay.
When they think of well-regulated militia,
Right.
was everybody theoretically belonged to the militia, and you could be called to come and help defend the colony at any time. That's kind of how the thought at that time
At
looked.
that time.
So I need a gun at the house. I need to be ready to go. And when they call for the militia, boom, who's coming?
So 200 years ago, the militia was the military.
The people.
No,
Because there was no military.
Well.
See, the king had a military.
Okay.
The colony did not. You gotta.
Yeah. But the colonies had uniforms.
No, the king had soldiers that were loyal to the king that he sent, that were responsive to the governor that he had appointed.
So where those gray uniforms come from?
Which you mean in the Civil War? Right? Yeah. That's 100 years after the country's been formed.
Okay, doesn't
But
matter.
that's not when the Constitution written.
Oh.
Constitution's back in 1700.
Okay.
So you're right.
So our founding fathers were forethinkers. So
well, they figured out something.
What?
The people need guns in case. So let me back up. When the American Revolution started, they had a problem.
Okay.
The revolutionaries didn't have an army. All the army officers, they belonged to the king.
But they wrote militia into the Constitution for thinking army.
Well,
people, army.
Well, they actually were thinking we may have to fight each other. Virginia might need to fight Maryland. Maryland may need to fight North Carolina. So every state, and you may go look and see, that's why they all kind of had their own military institute.
So because they were for, and I was thinking about this on the way here, the United States of America will, on the path that it's on, will eventually become just America. No more United States. The states.
Well,
the
federalist system, I think, is anchored in. Let me go back to the so just looking at the Constitution.
Okay.
So since the Constitution says the individual has a certain gun rights.
No, that's not what the Constitution does not say. Individual.
Well, let me change. The interpretation by the Supreme Court of the Second Amendment, and what they're saying is the government can't put its hands into that regulation too much without showing some kind of nexus to the regulation. Meaning this idea about me proving I'm in danger.
You said nexus. You might want to explain that.
So meaning a connection.
Okay.
So in the New York law, I have to show, or the government has to show a rational basis for connecting its restriction on your gun rights to its requirement that you demonstrate that you're in fear. And there's nothing in the Constitution about that.
Okay.
That's kind of what made that fall apart. Now, a very simplistic way that I've been trying to explain Roe versus Wade is the Supreme Court basically came out and said, listen, we should have never gotten involved in this. There's nothing in the Constitution regarding us being involved in abortions we're taking our hands out, and y'all go do what you want to do. If Congress wants to enact some laws regarding it, you have the right to do it. States, if you want to do it, you want to do it. But the Supreme Court, we're going to pull our hands out of this because there's nothing in the Constitution that says we should be in it.
And so the ruling that they made on yesterday just says that the 7-2 opinion that they got 49 years ago were all dummies on the Supreme Court. Pretty much.
Because activist judges.
Well,
and that was an activist time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
go ahead, Pete.
Go ahead, Pete.
If you look at the state of Florida, in the state of Florida Constitution, they had an amendment that protect privacy rights of individuals. And so if you read it, women in Florida now, that's why even though the Supreme Court said we're going to turn it back over to the states, what a good example of the conflict is going to be with Florida, where this Florida Supreme Court, which is extremely right-wing, it's so extremely right-wing, even a conservative like Alan Lawson got off the Supreme Court before he was eligible to. And what it says in the Florida Constitution with the amendment, that women would have a right to privacy, abortion, and everything else. Now, they're going to try to come back and say, well, hey, that's no longer a prize in Florida, so the legislature can come in and say, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to put a 15-week cap on it. And so you're going to have people apply to the state Supreme Court and say, hey, that's wrong, too. We should have free access to abortion because it's written into our state constitution on privacy rights and all. And that's going to be underturned. And my issue is that while we're sitting around and all, particularly people under 40, they don't understand that this is part of a cascade of problems coming up. And Florida will be, after Texas, where you won't even need a carry and conceal firearm permit. It's open carry. And with regards to abortion, it's going to either be 15 weeks or 20 weeks. And here's a good example of why they're going to be able to put it in. You know why? Because in Florida, the people that should vote only vote as far when it counts to them people of color and everything else, a presidential election. So it'll be easy to go through.
You know, I just think that we've been I think abortion has been a very divisive issue nationally. And I think the one thing that's going to happen now is by going back into the states, you now have some accountability at the state level. There have been a lot of politicians, I think, Pete, for a long time who've gotten away with giving lip service regarding abortion without giving action by kind of defaulting back to the protection and cover given by Roe versus Wade. Well, now what you're going to have, I think, is these people are going to be held accountable. They're going to be expected to either side you're on, and your Republican counterparts, Pete, they look like they're going to be rampantly going. Now, I think a new argument is going to be made if you can frame these are healthcare decisions. And that has not been successfully done. Treating this like it is a healthcare issue may restore people back to their privacy. But look, I have got a novel idea about why the abortion issue doesn't matter so much.
What's that?
Well, I can't tell you just yet because DJ Bezel is telling me we got to go to break. You the music?
Yeah.
I know you own it, but the man is in charge. The man got the buttons over there. He's in charge. We're going to take this break. I'm going to come back, Pete. I'm going to tell you why. I don't think abortion is a hot topic and issues people make it out. In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. We'll be right back after this message.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
You've been injured, you deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is attorney Clinton Paris from the law office of Clinton Paris. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, attorney Clinton Paris, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parislawoffice.com. At the law office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt. Often offices, Riverview.
Listen, man, one of the things I was always very proud of as a kid in school was my conduct grades. You know, I don't know how it worked out, but I just want to let you know, man, I follow instructions well. My engineer's telling me, you know, I got to go to break.
So you got a lot of S's in conduct?
I got a lot. Well, we didn't get, you know, we actually had grades, if I recall correctly. I don't know what you know. But I did well in conduct. I did well, and you know, everybody called me teacher's pet. But when DJ Bezel says he's going to break, I apologize. Right. I got to follow what he's doing. He's doing a great job producing the show and working over there for us. I appreciate it. Listen, so if you're listening to the show, I want to make sure you also appreciate, you know, all the stuff that you can find on the InTouch News webpage, intouchnews.com. Go there, take a look at some of the articles, the information. We're a multimedia operation. We're live on the air. There's a print version. We have live shows, music, just a plethora
social media.
And social media, just a plethora of information. I always tell people, you take over a country. If anybody's planning to take over a country, two things you want to do first. You take over media, TV and radio and all that stuff, and you got to take over the airport so can anybody come and go. Those are the two things you got to control. You take over the airport.
Okay, Jerome Paris.
Take over the.
Should I say Attorney General Paris?
Take over the media. So listen, here's what I'm thinking about abortion. I don't think it matters, this ruling, that much. I really do not. It's symbolic more than anything. In 1972, as regards to family planning, which is kind of where abortion comes out of, you know.
Okay. Is it how Planned Parenthood?
Planned Parenthood. Family planning, the main way that you managed family planning, condoms, and if some
birth control
pills, and if something happened that was unexpected and you didn't think that it was something that you could manage being a parent, abortion was then a option. And then there were health issues, needing abortion, rape, incest, some of those kind of things that they perpetuate, you know, the wrong that was done. So we're different now, though. They were saying, I was reading something online that said 60% of abortions are done by pill. 60% of abortions are done by pill. You have the morning after pill.
Right.
You have IUDs. We now have a plethora of vasectomies. There's so many additional resources for family planning now that I would deposit that the number of unwanted pregnancies, the oopses, are significantly down for those people who are informed and have access. And so now the question becomes access to that stuff. And I'm going to give you a great access piece.
Okay.
When I went to University of South Florida, the AIDS epidemic hit. Before the AIDS epidemic, if you wanted condoms, Bezel, you know, college students, you're on a budget. You know,
you had to go buy them.
Right. Or you had to go make an appointment, go to the health department, and ask for some. And they would give you like one or two. And I would say, listen, you see what I'm working with here.
I just asked my big brothers.
Yeah, you know, one or two. What's that gonna get me through the afternoon? I'm gonna be back tomorrow. You know, y'all gotta help up with that. But AIDS epidemic hit.
Okay.
And they called all the campus leadership around, and they said, listen, we will be giving out as many condoms as you will take, and in fact, to the resident assistants, you will be required to keep a basket of condoms available 24 hours a day on every dorm floor. So we went from having to make an appointment, go upstairs, kind of hope nobody's looking, have some 75-year-old lady in the back say, what do you need?
Condoms you want.
Ma'am, can I have 2 extra large?
kind of like we.
Can I get the biggies?
Kind of like we're dealing with guns right now. You can have all the guns you want. Right.
So, but I think now, I think the availability of so many options, Norplant.
Okay.
Well, I don't have to even think about it. The number of things you can do now to limit that. Now, the problem you have is there's a socioeconomic component. And that is lower income people tend to have less health care and family planning resources. Exactly.
That's
So we
true,
have to
Clint.
figure that.
That's
Pete,
true.
go ahead, Pete. And what are your thoughts about that, Pete?
Well, here's the thing. When you look at with the availability of morning after pills and all like that, in certain low-income communities, for an example, in the Afro-American community, when I talk to young people and they don't, they kind of stay under the radar with regards to birth planning and all.
Mm-hmm.
And how I found out how bad it is, and it's still bad it is, when I was on the children's board, we worked with Lowberry with Reach Up.
Yes.
And Miss Betty Reed, the late Betty Reed, along with her sister Barbara Jordan, was able to get a state grant because we found out that Big Hillsborough County led the state of Florida in low-weight birth mortality
Yes.
among black people. Okay?
Yes.
And then when I went to some of these meetings and talked to some of these young mothers and all, they were interested in Planned Parenthood and what are the issues into that kind of stuff because it was considered and still considered now like the black gay movement that nobody likes to talk about it on the surface.
Now, what's going to
Nobody
happen?
likes to
Right.
talk about black.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
so it's going to get worse.
Well, I think
And
they're going to
how-
do
the
those
question is,
resources.
How do we deal with it?
Well, those resources I talked about, Pete, I think is where this is going to hit because I think most
But they're
states
not going to resources that
they're going to cut them down.
If the people ain't of color that can match up with the people that's going to need the resources, it's not going to fly. Can you imagine a bunch of white Planned Parenthood women coming into West Tampa, East Tampa, talking about resources and things like that? These young people, they're not going to buy that.
Right. Well.
Dad's not gonna buy it.
Right. But let's
The
think
mother's
about.
not gonna
But
buy
if I mentioned the condoms. Also, I think there was a time where they made birth control available actually in the schools, where young girls could come and actually get birth control pills at school, in the high schools. But I think what's going to happen in the states that want to restrict abortion, they're going to cut those resources. But really, this is not really about abortion and not abortion. This is about power and galvanizing support. And what's going to happen is now that they've gotten this abortion back to the states level, I think the abortion resistance movement is going to falter. And the abortion rights movement, people who want to reframe, this is about women's health care. I don't think the government should be in the middle of even having any say about women's. Listen, if I can go and cut off my sex organs, I can go physically alter my DNA. I mean, my whole body dynamic, and the government's not involved in that. I don't think it should be involved in, and I think that's going to be the new place you find the fight from a constitutional standpoint is regarding it as health care and the influence of government within my healthcare decisions. But let me say this.
Now, what's the conflict? What's the conflict? The conflict is an age-old thing where you got this mentality, even particularly among white women who are anti-abortionists, that they're looking at things as they submit to what their man is requiring. Now, people will laugh at that and say, that's BS, but a lot of them are understanding that they submit to the will of their husband or the man. So that's why you have...
Boy, Pete, you better be glad they don't know where you better be glad people don't know where you live, Pete. That's the kind of stuff get you. That's the kind of stuff get you basically saying that women out there doing this because they...
Pete's address is...
Pete, man...
The number of white women in the anti-abortion movement and the number...
But it's not their own ideas. These are their husband's ideas that they're projecting. And I do think if
projecting, that's where that ruling comes in. That is a male superiority ruling. We don't like to talk about it, but that's exactly what that ruling is. Because I give you another example. You have a part of these groups that are anti-abortion. They say, hey, well, we know we're not going to be able to get everything we want. However, as part of making this work for us, this ruling, we're going to have to reform and get a better welfare system. Now, you're talking about the same people that had the mentality of Ronald Reagan, okay? So the welfare queen. So that's a trap play. I'm just calling like it is. But when you look at our community, our sisters of color, they have no, and I'm talking about, when I talk to women that have degrees, they're very reluctant to discuss issues like that.
Well, I can't argue with you there, Pete, because I'm my marriage status precludes me from just sitting around chatting with women about their reproductive.
Well, I give you a good example, Clint. I give you a good example.
Okay.
Right quick. Planned Parenthood gets a lot of money.
Yes.
Do you see them spending a lot of money in black media, including Anti-Church News?
No.
No.
Okay, that's that. There you go.
Yeah. No, I definitely think everybody needs to be regrouping, though. But now, let me ask you this. I think this is why this ruling was leaked, to bring down the tension when the actual ruling comes out.
I agree with that. Yes.
I think it was leaked on purpose.
Yeah.
To get people ready. But I just still believe now there's no reason now. And here's what I'll tell you interesting, and I don't know this for certain, but I didn't hear many reports of protests at state Supreme Courts or legislatures.
No.
Well, that's where the fight is now.
No, you had some in Tallahassee, you had some in around the clinic, or some in Mississippi. You're not going to see that because the mood of the country is so split, and a lot of people, they consider this as part of a movement to take everything back to prior the civil rights bills, including the 64 civil rights bill.
You said a lot of people.
The other part of that,
You said a lot of people. I'm thinking maybe 30 to 35% of the electorate is this movement. We're almost at a point to where we're at a minority rule.
That's a good percentage.
Okay.
Well, and our government is set up for a systematically to give the minority some power. That's how you prevent revolution.
Yeah, but not all power.
Not all, but some. That's why you have some of the votes require 60%. It's just that you just don't get to run over and trample the other side. And what you're going to do. Now the trick becomes, Pete, now that you've had these Supreme Court rulings, we kind of expected this. Pete Stradamus has predicted there are more to come. Pete predicting there are more rulings to come that have a racial nature to them. The question really now becomes, as we get ready to go to our next break, is how does this impact the political landscape? How does this impact Republicans? How does this now impact Democrats? And who's going to be able to use this versus the other to impact the midterm elections? And think about this. It took 50 years to overturn Roe.
Right.
50 years it took.
Yeah, it did. So
the question becomes, one, how long may it take now? And how will things look in the future when this gets changed? And what we're going to do, we're going to take a break. This is our last break. When we come back, though, I want both Pete and Darryl to kind of give us their perspective on how does this now impact the political landscape. You know, I saw so in Texas, they were taking a lap. The Republicans, they called the immediate state holiday, and everybody off work.
Yeah, they
go
were pretty
party
excited.
It up.
They were.
We come back. We're gonna talk about how this is gonna impact the political landscape. In-Touch News Radio, reality radio. Everybody can be a star. We will be right back after this message.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661. By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here for you.
We're playing your favorite old school. touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
All right, back live on In Touch News Radio, reality radio. Everybody can be a star. It's good. I appreciate everybody listening in, and we're working out the technical issues. We got Pete on the radio, and I know it's a little broken up, but we gotta have Pete. We had to have Pete today for some of the Supreme Court discussion, and DJ CEOs are here.
Hey, Pete. Now I know you can see. Well, you may not be able to see it, but Clint is sitting in here in his crimson and cream outfit of Kappa Alpha Psi. And I'm a Kappa myself, and I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Yes.
I didn't get the memo. What's up? What's up, Clint?
Well, today we're having the new officers that were elected with the fraternity for next year. We're being inducted. We're being sworn in today, taking our oaths.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Now,
very
what
much.
officer are you?
I am on the board of directors. I'm on the board of directors, serving again. And as we get ready for Conclave, which is coming to Tampa next year, we just have a lot of stuff that's going to be rolling out. There's going to be a major press conference in late July, and then every month there will be some major announcement happening about the activities and events as we come around the Conclave. Look, and Pete, I'm going to tell you right now, and anybody listening out there, if you may have missed your opportunity in undergrad. You may have not pulled the cord when you're raising your kids, what you're doing. But listen,
might have missed it.
The fraternity is a very, very great place for men.
Absolutely.
To bond, to support each other, to help each other as we move through life.
Yes.
I tell people all the time it's like a private country club where so many other feelings cease in this white-dominated society we live in.
Yeah.
The fraternity is predominantly African American. I mean, we have one or two non-African American members, but the focus is on issues that impact African Americans and how we impact the community, and just some really, really impactful people. So for me, it's a great thing. And
did you reduce the entry fee?
Well, we don't need to talk about fees, because let me just tell you something flat out, and we say it all the time. It costs to be a Kappa, and it's going to cost you a lot more money.
Did you hear, Pete? Did you reduce the entry
In fact, Pete, your fee may be extra. I'm going to put that on the record.
Double.
So I'm wearing my Kappa formal blazer today.
Yeah. Well, you look good, brother.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate that, Pete. All right, so listen, we need to find out, though, now that this has happened, we saw what's happening, who does it help? Who does it hurt? Pete, can you give us a Republican? And I know for a long time, Pete, you've been drifting more socialist than Republican, but can you put your Republican hat on and think, how does this help Republicans?
The extremist part of the Republican Party is gloating all over the place.
Yes.
This in the next 6 years, you're going to find an extreme swing to the right wing of issues. You're going to see, and Clarence Thomas has already hinted, they're going to find a case where they're sending it back to the states to make a decision on same-sex marriages.
Okay.
You're going to see the further dismantling of the voters' rights. You're going to see on women's rights and all like that. I think you will also see the Supreme Court, although they send in stuff back to the states, will make a caveat in their future rulings that will allow one state to prosecute people who go to another state to get an abortion. And I think you're going to see that. I think where it comes as far as the black community, we cannot keep sitting down, not being involved until a major presidential election. That is what's hurting us. If we do one good example, we can look at the case of the lady in Texas that said the Democratic Party, the Hispanic lady that won surprisingly from a Democratic district for over 60 years, say, hey, the Democrats have been playing us. And they continue to do that with the black population, including black Democrat elected officials who help do that to keep us down. It's obvious.
Pete,
let me why they do it. I'm just saying.
Let me ask you this, Pete. You've said this a number of times that there are a lot of Republican positions that black people agree with. Black people are predominantly, but hold on,
conservative at
they're
nature.
conservative. A lot of black folks, they're anti-abortion. Their position is we're having,
And homophobic.
We're having debate. Exactly. So when you talk about same-sex marriage, some of that kind of stuff, so is it, Pete, that the Republicans are appealing to black people better than Democrats on some of these issues?
Well, they've been doing that for a while. If you look at what's been happening, even in the state of Florida, you see the transitioning and all. I mean, you got this old school black guy in Daytona Beach that's in the legislature. He doesn't do much, but he's a Republican. You got Byron Donald from the richest part of Florida in Naples, a black Republican. They brought in, and Daryl, we interviewed him on the radio, this guy running for school board,
right?
Ronald Garrett or whatever. Now we got another lady, and so what's happening is that the younger people are saying, hey, we don't like the extreme part of the Republican Party, but the only way we're going to get elected is to join there, because generally black people on the surface, they think way far liberal, number one, and then they don't want to kick out black elected officials who haven't done a doggone thing in
okay.
3 terms.
Well, it's the extreme portion of the Republican Party that keeps the majority of the black folks out of it, and they're not going to let that portion of them go.
Yes.
Now, here's what I think these rulings are going to do in the upcoming political spectrum. I believe that it's going to help galvanize a lot of people that are really passionate about social issues, and of course that's what the Democratic Party primarily represents, a lot of social issues. But I think it's going to galvanize a lot of people that are on the right will vote on the left in a lot of state elections as well as the presidential elections, so that they can help to swing back or at least equalize the power that this small minority has right now, that they are squeezing the life out of us. I believe it's going to make a big shift, because you got a lot of folks that even though they may agree with certain things, they ain't quite ready to just let this minority rule run away and get rampant in their views and totally choke off what America represents, because that's really where we're headed. If we don't get a hold on what this minority is doing, we got to get a hold on that, and I think you'll get voters to come back on our side. They may stay Republican or independent, but they're going to come on the Democratic side to get a control.
Now, last thing, we only got a few minutes left, Pete, and I just got to get your comments on the January 6 hearings. And the methodology which the Democrats are using to prosecute, and I use that word, this is a public prosecution of how this event came about and the various entities and people involved. Your thoughts on that real quick, people only got 2 minutes.
I thought they've done a good job of it. I think they got the right guy as chairman. Benny Thompson
Me too.
is what I consider an old school black conservative in our community.
You know what?
Like
He's coming across well.
And so what's going to happen is, because it's an off-year election, the people that should be raising up to change something, they're not going to vote. Now, the other issue, by time, because of the economic issues and what have you, when the election comes around in November, it will be a passing thought, because Trump isn't going to run. I think the person that you got to watch out for in the presidential thing is either DeSantis, or you got to look at somebody like the guy from Maryland, Larry Hogan.
Listen,
I think
Fox
those are
News,
wind up being the two candidates.
Fox News has endorsed Ron DeSantis already. If you listen to their commentary,
I haven't heard them.
Yeah, I listen all the time. And,
Really?
And they're constantly saying, well, if you don't like the way your state's being run, you can move
Move
to
to
Florida.
Florida.
You can move to Florida if you don't like so-and-so.
Okay.
Well, if you don't like COVID,
It's-
go to Florida.
it's an
You know, your
implicit-
business. Exactly.
Right.
Oh, well, we love,
Well,
da, da, da.
hey, Clint, have you thought about that Trump on the backside that we don't see is using his threat to run and all to really get DeSantis when Trump says he's not going to run to take his place and knock out everybody else. That's
Listen,
what I see
right,
that's
well,
happening.
I actually thought the January 6th hearings were a desperation plea by Democrats to goat Trump in the running because we can beat Trump. DeSantis might be a problem. See, DeSantis is a more effective Trump. Trump is a bumbling, stumbling, clumbling. DeSantis is much more effective.
Polished.
Nothing he has tried to do has not gotten done.
Yes.
Nothing he's not tried to do has not gotten done. Well, hey, Pete, listen, I appreciate you bearing with us on the phones and calling in this morning.
We're looking forward to you coming back, man.
We got to get you in here. And
I told you so. I'm not gloating, but more to come.
You've been telling me so all week, Pete. Every time I call you, you telling me, I told you so. You start to come, hey, Pete, how you doing? I told you so. And so tell me so one more time, Pete. Go ahead.
I told you so, my future frat brother.
Future friend.
Lord of me, and I'm ready to go.
We're going to come by there. Well, thank you very much, Pete. Appreciate you.
I got a cane already, so
all right.
I just need to pay the cane and Lord of Pete.
Well, it's a little more to it than that, but we'll talk about that. So, DJ CEO, appreciate you as always sitting in.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Pete. DJ Bezel, I appreciate your technical expertise and problem-solving abilities. My man has worked it all out over there, ladies and gentlemen. This is In Touch News Radio.
You come in from West Virginia?
No, we're waiting on you to get back in here, Pete. When you get back in here, the barbecue is coming.
We'll be here, though. We'll see you back here next week, y'all.
Right.
Take care, everybody.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.